Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to Alta Live. We're expecting a very huge crowd today for Griffin Dunne in conversation about his aunt, Joan Didion. So as our crowd fills in here to our Zoom room, it's my exciting job to welcome you. This is Alta Live, the digital event series presented by Alta Journal. A big welcome to everyone. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Griffin Dunne. Griffin is a New York-based actor, writer, and director, as well as the nephew of the late literary icon, Joan Didion. Griffin chronicled the life and work of his aunt in the Netflix documentary, Joan Didion, The Center Will Not Hold. He wrote about that experience of creating this incredible documentary, which you can watch on Netflix right now, for the latest issue of Alta. Today, he'll join Alta Journal's managing editor, Blaise Zerega, for a conversation about this film, his incredible literary lineage, and to answer some of your questions. Before they begin, some brief housekeeping. Again, this is the digital interview series we do here at Alta Journal. My name is Beth Spotswood. I'm Alta's digital editor. If you're unfamiliar with Alta, we are an award-winning quarterly magazine and website focused on California and the West. If you do here today and our content, we have a major section, our cover story, and a huge section devoted to the work of Joan Didion. If you like what we do here today, I do hope you'll check us out. We host weekly interview series like these, a monthly book club. In fact, next week we welcome Michael Conley. And we create this magazine. You can subscribe and become a member for as little as $3 a month. So do check us out at altaonline.com. Later when you get a chance. There's a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen to ask questions of Griffin. He and Blaise will chat for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to get to as many of your questions as possible. This interview will be recorded and posted to altaonline.com later today. It will also be emailed to you at whatever email address you registered with. So thanks for everyone for letting us know where they're tuning in from in the chat. It's always great. I'm here in Marin County, California. I'm going to get lost and turn it over to Blaise and Griffin.
Great. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Beth. And thank you, Griffin, for being here. And there's already been a shout out about your T-shirt.
I know, I can't believe it. Yeah, it's a California thing. And people from California know, even though that fellow was from Oregon.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was a real treat to publish your essay about the making of your documentary. The Joan Didion, The Center Will Not Hold, for Netflix. And since your aunt's passing, the movie has gained new audiences and new significance, and certainly interest in her surged. And so as you set out to do, you accomplish your mission. So well done with that. And thank you for bringing it forward to us now. So let's start about talking about the documentary. As you write in the essay, it grew out of another project. So perhaps you could just talk us through sort of how the documentary came to be.
Well, as you know that when books are coming out, an added promotional device in the past 10 years has been to make a little video of the, about the book, and have the author speak, and they're kind of pro forma sort of things, and the author always looks awkward doing them. And but when Joan's publisher came to me at Joan's suggestion to do one of these, I suggested that they spend a little more money than they usually do, and I had a very fixed idea of how I wanted to do passages from the book with imagery that would go along and kind of capture the tone of her writing and what she was writing about, and the depth of feeling, and and it's a very serious. It was for Blue Nights, a very difficult book for her to write and very difficult to read, because it's about the loss of her daughter, Quintana. So Joan and I got a crew together, and we would pile into the van, and I'd shoot Joan at a botanical garden. I'd shoot her at St. John's Cathedral, and despite the subject matter, Joan at one point in her childhood, I think, a young teen maybe, wanted to be an actress. So she that and a marine biologist, little known fact. But anyway, my point is she had a ball making it, and we all did. It was just really, really fun to pile into the van and then go have lunch. And the crew were all young and and tremendous fans, and they just peppered her with questions. And it was like, as you see in the doc too, she really comes alive when she's working. So it was a great experience. And after we'd made it, and Sonny Mehta and all the marketing people, the publishing house saw it, and we're very pleased. I asked if I'd to do the thing.
So before we do that, but I have a question, because you can, and maybe we can show the links to that promo, the promos you made. There's a number of them on YouTube, and there's one that says Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 7. Is one the official version of the promo, or?
I have no idea. People edit their own. Other people, whatever. Yeah. However, I didn't think of it in chapters. Right. I think it was just one sort of fluid thing that ran about 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, but welcome to the internet, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but so then, okay, so you have the great experience producing the Blue Knights promotion video, and Joan had been, I'm sure, approached numerous times by famous documentary people, filmmaking, everyone. And so, I mean, you had to have some trepidation to go and ask her, can I make a documentary about you?
It was terrifying. Broaching the question was one level. I had to really kind of work up, some courage to ask if we could take this further, and it would require a lot of her time. And but the scarier part was when she said yes, because I knew I was. She has given me this incredible responsibility to tell her story to people who feel they know Joan, or want to know Joan, or more importantly, whose lives have really been transformed by so much of her writing and her essays, and who read, on morality and all those her personal pieces, and really take it to heart, and it becomes the fabric of their own personal growth. So I knew I'd be showing it to a very tough audience if I got it wrong. But the approach I took was similar in the promotional thing of using her words and imagery, and now getting archival footage, but also, which I hadn't planned to do, but was to make it more a relationship of me as her nephew talking to her. It just made her more at ease. It made me at ease. It gave, and so many of the things I didn't think I would use, but it kind of felt like that was the fabric of the way in, and it let people see what she's like when she's not giving an interview, and when she's, with family.
Well, I'm struck by that. I mean, she really comes across as, warm and funny and charismatic. And I mean, her affection for her love of family comes shining through. Her affection for you, your affection for her is palpable. And maybe you could tell us a little bit, how did your relationship with her evolve as you grew up? I mean, as a young person, young man, becoming an artist yourself, film, TV, writing. What was your relationship like?
Well, they were an integral part of it as both an inspiration and just starting from meeting Joan, who's my uncle brought Joan before they were married to meet his future wife, and I described this moment in the documentary of where I'm about 6 years old, and and I have a ripped seam in my bathing suit, and part of me like is exposed, a testicle, and everyone laughs uproariously.
Right.
I'm shame-filled, except Joan is the only one who doesn't laugh. She just maintains eye contact, and she looks maybe over at my father and uncle roaring and going as if to say, "I'm not with them." And I have that in the doc, and I bring it up now because it really is an example of her character. It shows up in her writing of going against public opinion, of seeing things. She doesn't, she never goes with the flow of the room. She has her own take on the media and on politics, and her take on a 6-year-old boy being shamed was a small example of that. And then, but for some reason, both John and Joan, I was kind of a precocious kid, so they always would invite me, include me in their, as I got older, as a teenager, in their social events. And so I would, they would ask me to a party, knowing I loved Janis Joplin. They invited me to a party where she was going to show up at a party that Tom Wolfe asked them to give for a Kool-Aid acid test.
Right.
And so I went to that party, and I ended up making a film about it.
Yeah, so we have the link for that too.
Yeah, it's
Duke
called
of
Duke
Groove,
of
if we can put that in there for everybody.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry, you gotta say that. I mean, give us a little. It's got like Uma Thurman in it, Tobey Maguire, Kiefer
Sutherland, Elliot Gould. I pulled every favor in the book. It was the very first thing I ever directed and wrote.
And that was Oscar nominated, right?
And it was nominated for an Oscar, yes. Yeah. And which delighted John and Joan. I mean, when I sent them the script, they just roared. And I remember John wrote back. He wrote, "I wept copious tears when I got to the end, and of joy, I assume." And but yeah, that was a seminal moment in my life, and it continued where I was, as I became an adult and then I got into acting, and they were always encouraging of my career, and as well as my father, of course, and then I became a movie producer around the same time I was an actor, and Amy Robinson, my partner, and I had made 2 films, and Joan asked if we would produce an adaptation of Vegas, John's book, Memoir of a Dark Season. So we've had a professional relationship and a close family relationship, and it's just, I was particularly close with John, and he was just a hilarious person, and no one you'd want to cross, and so. So it was a long
Irish, Tammany Hall boss or something. I think.
Well, absolutely. A tough Irish Mick.
Yep.
And
you mentioned your father. You mentioned your father too, and
yes.
Your father's also writer, Hollywood producer. I mean, there's a real family, a creative family here.
Well, they made 2 movies together under Dunne-Didion Productions. The first one was Panic in Needle Park, and then the second was an adaptation of Play It As It Lays. So they were, they collaborated, and they did really good work together.
Yeah, and your father wrote the 2 Mrs. Grenvilles of.
Yeah, and then later, quite late in particularly a writer's life, he found his voice as an author and journalist.
What? And then your cousin was one of the producers, or
Annabelle Dunne. She's she's I couldn't have made this without her. It was like and to work with family was a joy.
Who other than your family, what are some of your influences for your acting, your writing, directing?
Well, I would say I was dyslexic growing up all the way through school, and a terrible student. And then as soon as I got out of school, or kicked out of school, I suddenly reading became very, very easy for me. And I think my first, impressions were what they called new journalism, but Tom Wolfe and Hunter Thompson, and I was an avid reader of Rolling Stone, an avid fan of rock and roll music, and I've always those sort of sounds of the California sounds in the 70s, and Linda Ronstadt and Jackson Browne, and those were like that was my my diet, and I kind of those sort of sweet, sour, yin yang kind of sad, funny kind of things. It just sort of sort of the tone of which I tell stories and make movies, and I find as an actor I'm like kind of the sad, funny Chekhovian guy the older I get.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's sort of in many of your projects. So if you just go back to Duke of Groove, there's a literary thread. There's that came from a Tom Wolfe book party. I think there's an Allen Ginsberg character.
There certainly is. I dressed up an extra as Allen Ginsberg. Yep.
Yeah,
Who wasn't really there.
But so thinking about that, and you mentioned one time asking Joan what she was writing about, and your Uncle John saying, "You never ask a writer,
when they're writing. You never, ever." And it was I'm terrified if I approach that question.
All right, so now you filled me with trepidation. I mean, so
you can tell.
Can I ask you, what are you writing about now? I understand you've got a memoir.
Well, yeah, I've collected a lot of life experiences, and I put it down, about 100 and so pages of a book proposal as a memoir of most childhood, older adult looking back kind of thing, but more of like in the moment childhood of growing up in Los Angeles and then moving to New York as in my late teens to be an actor. So I'm in the midst of writing that. Penguin Press bought it, and just had a meeting with my editor with the pages I sent right before we started talking here. So I've got a lot on my plate.
Wow. Well, I mean, I'll share what passes for, gossip here in the halls of Alta Journal. I had lunch with a New York publisher. I'll tell you her name after this call.
Okay.
But she said she saw your those 100 pages or so that were going around. She said they were great, and so bummed that they didn't win to have the opportunity to work.
I'm
with
glad to hear that.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to see that. And so. What about, I mean, let's talk I have to ask you about just a couple movies, and think about movie types too. Are there some that you're drawn to, or what's your favorite movie that you've made or acted in?
Well, I would say, certainly After Hours just sort of tapped into my timing of life. And again, just shit just happens to me sometimes, and I read that script and I went, oh my god, that's so perfectly aligns with what it's like when I leave my apartment and try to get back home. So that was it. But I you asked about an earlier influence. I'd say that when I was a kid, I saw Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate, which I was sort of too old to see, but I snuck in somehow. I looked at that guy, Benjamin, and I looked at that actor playing him, and everyone at that time looked like Robert Redford, and I went, that guy, that sense of humor, that the nervousness and the situation he was in, I said I can do that. That's what I want to do, and he was the major influence that I moved to New York.
Yeah. Well, and so is there a type of story that you're drawn to when you look?
Well, it like everything, and it changes as you age. Right now, I wouldn't have said this, 15 years ago, but I love any historical sort of dramas and things that sort of capture a period of time that we're not in, but you but somehow reflect. I've just been, as this country is tearing itself in two, I've been sort of in a rabbit hole of looking at Civil War movies and reading I've just finished a book called Booth, Karen Fowler's book, about the Booth family, and so I love seeing history develop from a different point of view. And if you look at the Booth family, you'll see a perfect example of a country divided and a family divided. So that's where I'm at now. And before that, I was like, like so many kids, Catcher in the Rye, and like, wow, off I go, and anything to do with Salinger.
Right. What and is any of your current taste? I mean, can you attribute that back to your aunt and uncle or your dad or?
Yeah, I think so. I think my humor is very much like my father and uncle. It's really dark and can be really profane so yeah, I think that, but also we have an element of humor that has a undercurrent of darkness to it too. I mean, there's everybody has something that they've survived from, and it brings out your humor. But I was in a very sent as a boarding school at 11 years old with an extremely strict, repressive, corporal punishment, outrageous sort of place. That if I tell the story, you probably will laugh, but if I tell it again, you'll say, "Oh my God, that's not funny at all." Yeah. And that's very much of an attitude of that's very much in Joan's writing and my father's writing and character.
Yeah, and in the movie, I mean, what's the happiest scene or memory you have of making the movie with her?
Yeah, God, there were so many. I think that I kind of talked about it. I had no idea I would bring up the testicle story when I said it, and I even forgot it was there. I went on editing, and then I looked back. But I mean,
you screamed sitting next to her.
Yeah, and we laughed so hard. And when I look at Joan laughing, I went, I'm so happy I have that on film, because people, I don't think anyone's seen her laugh that hard. I don't think it exists.
Yeah.
Outside of, I grew up with it, but that scene was never going to leave once I saw it. Anyway, that was a really fun moment. But also, just hanging out in the kitchen and going through a refrigerator and us like just sort of talking like, oh, hey, who made the soup? And oh, you got all this ice cream and all that. Those were all like, we just forgot the camera was there.
Oh, that's
so anytime there's those things, that to me is fun.
That's gold. Yeah. And the essay ends with this beautiful moment. Maybe you could describe it for everyone, where the film is premiered at the New York Film Festival in 2017. And then the tradition there is the cast sits in the balcony so that afterwards the audience, if they're so moved, can cheer or point the spotlight in their direction. What was that like, and what was happening?
Well, it was, Joan was, by that point in a wheelchair. I don't think many people knew, that she was ill enough to be in a wheelchair. So in a way, that would be sort of a debut for many people to see that, because she's not in a wheelchair in the movie. And I bring that up because the movie is playing, where, as you said, we're elevated above the audience. It seems to be, playing well. You can tell people are sort of engaged, but I'm very distracted because, one of the things you have to do at the end, if the audience likes it and they hit you with the spotlight, is you stand up and you acknowledge the crowd. And and the balcony was very, very low. And I spent most of the movie thinking, okay, I'm going to have her stand up and then I'm going to hold her. And I wasn't sure. I'd never had her lift out of the wheelchair before. So instead of enjoying watching the movie, I was more nervous about this. The movie ends, the spotlight hits us, standing ovation. And I look at Joan, and she goes, "Stand me up." And I get her to stand up, and the two of us are there. And the as I say in the essay, it was the longest standing ovation I heard from the director in the history of the festival.
Mm.
And we just stood there. Now, of course, it was for Joan and her life and her work. But for me, it was a moment of just such gratitude that I got the opportunity to start, make, and finish a film that will outlive us all. That she, this would be, in the last years of her life, would be able to actually witness right in front of your eyes all this adulation and appreciation and love and thanks for all the work she's done for the past half century.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt particularly proud to have been able to accommodate that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's such a gift that you exchange with each other then. And it's a gift that you've exchanged with us, all of us who've watched it and continue to learn about her and read her books. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
And not, in a, I guess maybe we can not keep this next one dark, but there's got to be a light side here too. But last week, I know we were talking before that you traveled to New York to inter Joan's ashes at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, and she's buried there or interred there, I guess. Her ashes are there with her husband and mother and daughter, Quintana. Could you tell us just a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, yes. Well, she passed away. Joan passed away over Christmas, and because of COVID, the church was not allowing any gathering. Particularly in this area of the church at St. John's. For those of you who don't know, it's the largest cathedral in America, and really an incredible venue it's actually used as well, besides being a church. And I don't really know Joan's early connection with how all that happened, but it goes back from her putting her mother first in the interment. Anyway, that when we were able to gather in this room where the walls are with all the placards of other families, we had to wait until a week or so ago for us to be allowed in that room and be in close contact. And there were really only 12 of us, and it was Joan's assistant, Joan's favorite nurse, and Joan's brother Jim Didion, who had also passed away the year previous, her 3 grown-up children, and Kelly's daughter was there as well, Kate, and then Joan's three women who were so close to Joan and looked after, took care of so many of the minutia that goes when you're looking after an elderly person, the nurses and the staff and the changes and the medications and coordinating all that and being her friend and having dinners. This went on as her health declined. They would all gather at least once a week. Lynn Nesbitt and Shelley Wanger, who was her editor, and Lynn was her agent, and Sharon Delano, who was John's agent and was a great provider, and my cousin, who I made the doc with, Annabelle Dunne. So anyway, we were there, 12 of us, and it was a very simple ceremony. The deacon, I guess he is. I'm not Protestant, so it's not a Monsignor. If he was, I didn't know that. But anyway, he spoke it all took about 15 minutes. It was very, very simple. But then we went afterwards for lunch at a place called Michael's. Midtown, and it was great. We just had a very long table and
Yep.
laughed our ass off. It was great.
That's that's terrific. Gosh, and anyone can visit the cathedral.
Yes,
Not a
yes,
private room.
it's right there. You'll see the four of them on the plaque there.
Right. Wow. And we're almost out of time, but let me try to end on a lighter a lighter note, I guess. What is one thing about your Aunt Joan that you'd like, a memory, a vignette, something someone may have told you one time that you'd like, her to be known for, remembered by, or that you want to share with the audience here today?
Well, I can tell you, when I was making the documentary, I was making about someone I assumed I knew because I grown up with her.
Mm-hmm.
But and of course I'd read her writing, growing up reading her writing, and we always got the first editions and with inscribed both John and John's books every Christmas or whenever they were coming out. But I think when I was making the doc, I thought about something, and this sort of ties into the spirit of your magazine. I knew she was from California, but I never knew how much she was from California. I never knew. I saw, as we were spending time together, I saw her history. I saw where she was from. I saw what it took for her family to cross the plains to settle in Sacramento, and I saw, everybody, we're all tired of the old, she's so frail as a bird and all that kind of stuff. What I really saw was, I saw a tough Western woman, and who was going to be the last person standing on the wagon trail, and it was her character, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Just how strong and how specific and brave her character was, and I'll carry that with me as I watched her health decline, and be unable to speak, but listen, but still be engaged, never a moment of pity. Parkinson's is just a hideous disease, and but her character just shone through.
Yeah, it does. It's amazing, Griffin. Yeah, and what you just said is beautiful. It really is. Thank you. So honest. Yeah. And thank you for the essay, and thank you for speaking with me. And I'm getting nudges here to that we can take some. We're already over. Sorry, everyone. But let's get some questions. There's several people are asking about a Joan Didion cookbook.
Oh yeah, no, I there is. I don't know the. I don't know the timeline, but there is a sort of book, and I believe it's a cookbook. In particular, in the works, with pieces of Joan's writing that will accompany her. Her cooking was entirely unique, and everybody looked forward to, her tamales, and it was a mixture of Southwestern and Mexican, and so it'll all be in there.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then someone also is asking whether she was close with Susan Sontag. Have you heard that? Or is there any evidence of their friendship?
I don't think that they were like constant friends. They obviously knew each other as peers. Yeah. I know that Joan had her son to the house, and that they. I could be wrong about this, but I got a sense that they knew Susan's son David had more of a relationship. But I could be wrong. That I'm not sure of.
And then several TV related questions. One is that you've had so many memorable roles on TV, including we were talking earlier about Frasier. Right. So this person likes your Law and Order role. Oh. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, of TV.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to an end of This Is Us, and I that's definitely going to be. I play this character named Uncle Nicky, um, uh, who's I'm playing 10 years older than I actually am, with very little makeup, to my chagrin. But I start off as my character starts off as a very troubled alcoholic, suicidal sort of person, and it's just had this wonderful transition as he's taken into this Pearson family, um, and who's like really come out the other side from, and finds love and sobriety, but it's not a corny part. It's like I get to like say all these irreverent sort of things, but underneath it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier, tough, funny, sad,
Yeah.
hilarious, all that yin yang stuff. So yeah, I would say that's certainly, it's freshest in my mind, and it's coming to an end. We're shooting the last 2 episodes now, and I'll miss being on it.
Well, and you must be sorry to see him go then. Or see, yeah, and so you got the book. Is there anything else you on the horizon you can share with what you're up to next?
Yeah, I got the book, and I'm I develop television, limited series sort of things that are all in the works at different places, that at different stages, that that I hope to do, and that would be directing as well. And but an acting, a really fun part, the lead actually in a movie that's shooting in Mexico. I'll be going to Tulum in June, to play a divorced, sad, funny, what's going to happen to him next kind of guy.
All right.
I'll get back to the Jacobian thing again.
Yeah, so it goes. Yeah. No, it's game. All right, and I think
typecast.
And one last question, since it's all sort of for us at Alta, I think it's probably started with your aunt's books. Do you have a favorite title of hers?
Yeah, The Last Thing He Wanted. If I saw it and I didn't know John, if I saw this thing, I'd go, oh, I got to know what is the last
Exactly. What is it?
I'm in. That just popped off the top of my head. I think that's certainly, one thing about the internment. We read from, I forgot to say, we actually also we read from Book of Common Prayer.
Yeah.
And she was asked, the deacon asked, had read somewhere that when Book of Common Prayer was coming out, they asked, are you religious? Is that why you named the book? And she said, I just like the title. And then I read the book, and I liked the language, but it really didn't have much to do with the book, the contents of the book, the story of the book. She just, she was drawn to that title.
Right. And okay, well, I was going to ask one more question. I know really over. Speaking of titles, I just want to think about it. So The Center Will Not Hold comes from Yeats. In the epigraph. But what about, how did you choose that for the title of the documentary?
I fretted quite a bit with the title. I couldn't come up with, it took a while. I know I sort of had marching orders that the algorithms, what's it called? When people, if that gets people to sign, to get more eyeballs on a streaming
clicker, yeah.
It had to have John's name first, and then a subtitle.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of what looked best with John's name, and that The Center Will Not Hold. That sentence just rolls around in my head as this world gets crazier and crazier and crazier, and even in 2017, it was then
doing it. Yep. Right. Well, the ovation for your movie when it premiered at New York Film Festival was 7 minutes, and I wish we could give you a 7 minutes ovation right now for your essay and for joining us today. And I think I'm supposed to turn this over back to Beth if. There we are.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Blaise. Thank you, Griffin. This was really exciting. I hope I had my total starstruckness enough. I thank you so much to our crowd for coming. We have a number of questions about the official name of the film. Again, that's Joan Didion, The Center Will Not Hold. It's available on Netflix. This interview has been recorded. It will be emailed to you with the email address you've registered for this event with. Don't worry. We're going to send you links to all of that. Griffin's beautiful essay in Alta, as well as a number of the links that we've put here in the chat and mentioned today. So check your email later this afternoon for that. I'd also like to invite you next week. We're happy to welcome Oakland up here, Northern California, first poet laureate Iodel Nzinga in conversation with Alta contributor Keenan Norris. That's on Wednesday, April 20th at 12:30. On Thursday, April 21st at 5 p.m., we welcome Michael Conley in conversation with John Freeman, the California Book Club host, as well as LAPD detective Mitzi Roberts, who is the real-life inspiration for character Renee Ballard. So you'll be invitations will be included in your email as well. Again, this has been a real thrill. Thank you so much, Griffin Dunne, and my boss, Blaise, of course. Thanks to everyone. Stay
Thank
safe.
you, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you, Griffin. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you. Do these comments stay on after we sign off to read?
You can hang out and I'll send them to you.
Yeah, sure. I'll look to see what people are saying. Great.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone.
All right,
Bye.
take care. Bye, everybody.